Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast for Disney Cruise Line history, trip reports, and general travel planning. Well, this has already been out for a couple of weeks now, but the D23 conference, or I guess a convention, was just held, 2 weeks ago now, Christy?
Yes.
Yeah, and in the parks and travel portion of it, they had a big announcement for Disney Cruise Line, and that announcement was that they're going to add a third ship to the two that they've already announced that are coming here later in 2021 and 2023, and they've slotted one into 2022. So we've got 3 new ships coming, and I was kind of curious what your initial take on that was, Christy.
Well, I am a sucker for a new ship, and I am a sucker for Disney Cruise Line. So this pretty much means that in 2021, I'll be cruising Disney Cruise Line with my family on a new ship. So I will be working on actually my travel plans. I like maybe some others out there make a little sheet about what I intend to do each year. And so I'm going to have to rearrange some things to just make sure that can be slated in. It's pretty exciting that they just said, yeah, whole other ship the next year. I mean, I just think it's fantastic.
Kind of amazing, and it's going to be built by the same company, Meyer Werft.
Yeah.
Shift is Schiff in German, but they're going to be building all 3 ships, and we will probably get some news. When do you think the first itineraries and things like that are going to come out? If the first one's coming off in 2021,
2019
or so. So just about a year and a half away, probably, of starting to find out where they're going to go. I went through the Disney Parks blog to take a look at some of the statements they made, and just a couple things that jumped out. It's all kind of speculation as far as what the names will be and where they're going to go and whatnot. But they felt like the 2 new ships was not going to be enough to meet the demand that they have today. And are you kind of seeing that with your business, Christy, as far as how many people are booking with Disney these days?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Disney sells out their prices are just so much higher than everybody else in the industry. And it's because they are sailing full every single cruise. They don't have enough ships.
Yeah, it's the old...
At least, yep. I was going to say, out in the Caribbean even, and with their itineraries and not even having enough ports. And then there's the whole rest of the world. There's so many other locations that other cruise lines go to, and Disney does not have the ship capacity to put these ships in any other locations.
And I guess that's what I was kind of excited about. One of the statements, they said that they are almost going to double the fleet now by adding 3 more. So they're going to go from 4 to 7 ships to offer families more destinations around the globe. So as you just said, most of their sailings tend to be in the Caribbean. So I'm really excited to see where they're going to be able to branch out by adding these new ships to the fleet.
It'll be interesting too, and there's nothing from Disney on anything related to this topic, but if they procure another private island.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, from the speculation I've heard from other people talking about it, like Len Testa and whatnot, that just Castaway Cay is not big enough to handle the amount of ships that they have in the Caribbean if they start adding those now 3 additional ships flying or sailing around the Caribbean in the winter months.
And it's such a perfect island, and it's certainly something that they can create somewhere else. And so that'll be interesting to watch as the years go forward. And then what I suspect will happen is that some of the classic ships or even the Dream Class ships or Fantasy, but what class is that? Dream Class, right?
Right.
Will go elsewhere. And then the new ships, at least I would suspect over time, 2 of them would end up doing sailings in and around the United States.
Yeah.
But, Australia is a location that has become a huge cruising spot. Most of the major cruise lines have ships there. And then Asia, as you and I were talking about before the show started. And so those are some pretty huge cruise markets that are really growing. And so I do think Disney is going to want to be competitive and put some ships over there. Plus, there are Americans that want to cruise those destinations on a Disney ship. There are so many cruisers out there that only cruise Disney Cruise Line. And so those people are waiting for them to go to other locations. Even looking things like the Hawaii cruise. People love when Disney does the cruise to Hawaii, which is a crazy number of days, and it always sells out. And this is just another example. They'll have more ships to be able to do more of these itineraries.
Yeah, definitely. I was kind of thinking, as you're talking, there are two different things. We're going to the Baltic here in 2 months on Norwegian, and I was shocked when I looked at the ship that we booked on, and it's one of their larger ships that they've taken out of the Caribbean, or it's going to be up there in September, which is kind of the end of the cruising season up there. And generally it's been, so just to kind of give a comparison, it's bigger than the Dream class ships that Disney has. And in the past, the ship that they've been running up there has been the size of the Wonder and the Magic, and so and it's sold out, which is
wow,
amazing. So
it's during the school year.
It's during the
and
school
sold out.
It's school year, yeah. And I was kind of tweeting back and forth with Doug Parker over at Cruise Radio, and he was shocked at how big or how many people are going to the Baltic right now. So I'm just using that as an example of how cruising is getting bigger and bigger around the world, where other cruise lines are being able to fill the larger ships in those destinations. And I think Disney is finally seeing that if they build them, people are going to come and they're going to be able to fill them up. And also Australia, I'm not sure if you get the note or the feel of it as much on the East Coast, but definitely on the West Coast, there's a lot of Australians that come up here and visit America, and they really like the American culture and seeing America. So I think that putting a Disney ship down there, not only do Americans want to sail on it, it would definitely fill up down in Australia with people down there as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for them all out throughout the world, I guess.
Absolutely. And something we haven't noted is the size of the ships. So Disney has released finally that these ships will be larger than the Dream class ship. So that's pretty exciting. And yet it looked like they kept the passenger count not very high. I don't have that information in front of me, but the passenger count was not like, eye-opening. So I felt like with the Vista, it was a bigger ship, but they filled it with people. And in this case, they might not, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so
that just think of all the space that gives so much more space for activities and maybe some pools that could be a little less crowded and, just stuff like that. It's very exciting.
Yeah, and that was the last thing that kind of jumped out at me. I mean, they can't give a lot of information out on it, and it'll be coming in the future. But the other thing that kind of jumped out at me in the Parks blog was they said that 2 ships weren't big enough to hold all the experiences they've been dreaming up. So as you said, with that space, just think about all the amazing things that hopefully they've gotten planned for us as we start thinking about booking those future sailings in 2021 on the 3 new ships.
Well, it's pretty exciting. And just for all the people listening, we will definitely report on what we hear or think of might be coming, so speculation versus what we actually know from Disney. So we will definitely report back on that as new pieces of information come out. The trend these days is to release information in slow portions. Like even Disney, I think, started it and was the best at it, and now other companies are even doing it. They did that with Royal Caribbean when they were releasing like Harmony of the Seas and Anthem, that they slowly release information to get it to make people excited. And now Celebrity has their new ship coming out, the Edge, in their new ship class, and they are slowly doing that as well. So like every 4 months they'll do releases where they're telling us one more piece of information about the ship, and that ship comes out in December of 2018, and they're already doing it. The sailings for the Edge are mostly sold out for their opening season, which is the Caribbean in 2019, and it's because they have garnered up this excitement. And so if they can do that on their new ship, imagine what Disney's going to do.
Good point. Yeah, if they keep that in everybody's mind every 4 months as they slowly release out what's going to be available, where it may be going, all that kind of stuff, it kind of keeps that excitement building until this inaugural sailing. And you guys are going on the Edge, aren't you? Am I out to lunch on that?
Yeah, so I'll get to cruise on her twice. I won a cruise there was a little travel agent contest and I was like shrieking. It was hilarious when we found out. So my husband and I will get to do a 2-night cruise, and then we have a group cruise booked January of 2019 during Martin Luther King week. So people can reach out if they want to know anything more about that. But then we'll be cruising that week as well.
Well, awesome. Yeah, we'll look forward to kind of hearing. I've never talked to somebody that has been on a ship when it's brand new like that, kind of to get your take on how it all went.
Yeah, we're excited.
So, well, cool. Anything else about the announcement that they made on the the new ship that they've added to the 3 coming?
Nope, I think that's it.
Well, that's going to wrap up our quick show on the announcement of the 3rd ship, which was made at the D23 conference several weeks ago. We wanted to give it a couple of weeks before we talked about it, just to kind of let it sink in a little bit and really put some thought into it before we threw anything out there. So once again, thanks for listening. As always, you can reach us on Twitter at DCL Podcast, or also look us up on Facebook at DCL Podcast as well. Well, thanks everybody for coming back and taking a listen, and we will see you next time on the DCL Podcast. Take care.